Hi YouTube, long time no see. So I wanted to do a video on my opinion that I had about a recent story that's kind of gotten in the news, especially like on Fox News, Faux News. But yeah, you know the story about like Braden Williams, the first grader at Helen Hunt Jackson Elementary School, who was supposedly told by her teacher to sit down and be quiet because she was sharing some religious something or other. So I'm going to start this video by reading an article by Todd Starnes for Fox.com, which shows how that story has been allowed to spread nationwide. So anyway, here's the article. The parents of a 6-year-old girl said their daughter was humiliated when a teacher interrupted this child's 1-minute speech and told her to sit down because she's quote, not allowed to talk about the Bible in school, attorneys for the California family allege. The incident occurred December 19th inside a first-grade classroom at Helen Hunt Jackson Elementary School in Temecula, California. The previous day, the teacher instructed boys and girls to find something at home that represented a family Christmas tradition. They were supposed to bring the item to school and share the item in a classroom presentation. Bryn Williams decided to bring the Star of Bethlehem that adorned the top of her family's Christmas tree. She also worked on a 1-minute presentation to explain that her family's tradition is to remember the birth of Jesus at Christmas time. Quote, "Our Christmas tradition is to put a star on top of our tree," the little girl said. "The star is named the Star of Bethlehem. The 3 kings followed the star to find baby Jesus, the Savior of the world." Before the child could utter another word, the teacher intervened. According to Robert Tyler, the General Counsel for Advocates for Faith and Freedom, the law firm representing the Williams family. Quote, "Bryn's teacher said, 'Stop right there, go take your seat,'" end quote. Tyler said. Quote, "Bryn was not allowed to finish her presentation by reciting the Bible verse John 3:16. Tyler said the little girl was the only student in the class not allowed to finish her presentation. After Bryn took her seat, the teacher explained to Bryn, in front of all the other students, that she was not allowed to talk about the Bible or share its verses. Tyler said. Deena Williams learned about the incident after she picked up her daughter up from school. "She thought she had done something wrong," she told me. "She thought she was in trouble. I told her she was not in trouble and I was proud of her. I tried to comfort her on the way home." The following day, Williams met with the principal. The principal confirmed that Bryn's teacher did the appropriate thing by stopping her mid-presentation, and there are specific education codes that protect the school, Williams said. The principal then asked Bryn, who had tears in her eyes, to come into her office and deliver the same presentation that was censored in the classroom. Afterward, the principal stood by her decision. She confirmed that there was no way Bryn could finish that presentation, the disappointed mom told me. It was to protect the other students from being offended by Bryn's presentation. The principal reportedly told her that Bryn could write about her beliefs in a journal, but she was not allowed to share her beliefs aloud with any other student. Tyler sent a letter to the school district demanding they apologize to Bryn and change their policy limiting religious liberty. The disapproval and hostility that Christian students have come to experience in our nation's public schools has become an epidemic, he said, warning that should the school district ignore their concerns, they will file a lawsuit. The school district sent me the following statement. The Temecula Valley Unified School District, respects all students' rights under the Constitution and takes very seriously any allegation of discrimination. Due to the fact that the district officials are currently investigating the allegations, it would be inappropriate to further provide comment at this time. It's not the first time the school district has found itself in hot water over religious liberty violations. Last October, a 7th grade student was publicly ridiculed by a teacher for reading the Bible. The classroom assignment had been to read a nonfiction book. The teacher told the student in front of the class that the Bible was fiction and refused to give him credit for the assignment. Tyler said it's clear that the district violated Bryn's constitutional rights. Any act to suppress a student's free speech, in this case censorship of Bryn's presentation of her family traditions, has violated Bryn's constitutional rights, unless the school district can reasonably conclude that Bryn's speech was going to materially and substantially disrupt the school's work or discipline. He wrote in a letter to the school district. Here, the school district cannot reasonably come to that conclusion. So here's the way I see it. This is the author of the article continuing on. So here's the way I see it. The school district either 1. Made a gross mistake, 2. Is ignorant of the Constitution, 3. Is infested with radical secularists who like to bully Christian children, or 4. All of the above. Pretty damning statement of this school and its teachers and principal. Continuing on, this article continues on a little further. What happened inside the classroom is nothing short of un-American. I don't know about you, but I'm getting tired of my tax dollars being used to pay the salaries of public school teachers who humiliate and bully Christian boys and girls. How would you feel if Bryn was your daughter? And that's the end of the article. So, first of all, un-American? Really? I just want to point out, the article writer clearly does not have a grasp on the laws of our country pertaining to religion, especially this little amendment right here. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Now I'm just going to finish with that, the first part of that statement. It goes on to describe other things, but I just wanted to focus on this one thing right here. Now many Christians tend to favor the second part of that sentence and kind of ignore or gloss over the first part, so let me repeat that first part again. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Now that right there means separation of church and state. Government is not allowed to favor any one religious institutions over any other. Period. Now that I have that out of the way, I would now like to read a very interesting article which I've unearthed from the Temecula Patch, which is a local newspaper from the city where this story occurred. The link to this article is down below. In this article, we finally hear the rest of the story from the teacher's perspective. I will be reading that to you now. During the public comment portion of Temecula Valley Unified School District's Governing Board meeting on Tuesday, January 21st, Jackson Elementary School Principal Amy Paradise and first grade teacher Tammy Williams addressed the Board of Trustees in response to claims made by nonprofit group Advocates for Faith and Freedom. The statements followed a day in which members of OccupyTeaParty.net and others rallied at the school to support the claims by Advocates for Faith and Freedom. The allegations by Advocates for Faith and Freedom assert that first grade Bryn Williams was denied the right to free expression in the classroom on December 18, 2013, when she gave a presentation about the Star of Bethlehem and what it meant to her family at Christmas time. TVUSD has withheld comment until district officials could finish an investigation into the matter. Today, the district released the January 21st full statements of both Bryn's teacher and principal. The statements verbatim are as follows. Statements from Tammy Williams, first grade teacher at Jackson Elementary School. Hello, members of the board. My name is Tammy Williams, and I am a first grade teacher at Helen Hunt Jackson Elementary School. Last Tuesday, my reputation was questioned by the family of a student in my class and the Advocates for Faith and Freedom with accusations that I was hostile and bullied a student in my class over her religious beliefs. I wanted to make a statement here tonight to respond to these untrue accusations. On Thursday, December 19th, my class was getting our classroom ready for our holiday party that was to occur the next morning. We took longer than normal putting things away to ensure that the desks were clean and book boxes were put away so that tables could be used for our centers. This was normally something we did on Fridays. Because of this, we were running behind, and I still had 6 students who needed to do their sharing. I had a very limited amount of time and needed to make sure all students had time to share. Now remember, this is sharing. They were not oral reports. Students were asked to share a family tradition. It could be anything, not just a Christmas tradition. During sharing, I work with students on looking at the audience and using clear voices. We also work on listening skills and asking questions. This student was not the last student to present as had been reported. I still had a couple of students after her, which was the student of the day and the student of the week. When she started her share, she pulled out her golden star that I held for her as she pulled out her prepared speech written by one of her parents. This was unusual because rarely does a student have a prepared statement to read. As I held the star, the student began to read her statement. I helped her with the few words that she was having trouble with. I decided that I would have the student stop after sharing about Mary and Joseph. I felt that it would take too long, and I still needed her to take her question, and I had a few clarifying questions for her as well. At this point, I simply said the following, quote, "Okay, stop here and you get one question," end quote. She simply put her paper down and picked a student who asked her a question. I also asked her, quote, "Who puts the star on the tree? Do you take turns?" End quote. I even suggested that her dad could lift her up and let her put it on the tree. After that, she put her star away and sat with the class while we finished with the other students. I monitor all students this way. She at no time complained or acted sad. She was as happy as always. I want to be very clear about the following. At no time did I ever tell a student that she could not read the bottom section because it was a Bible verse, nor did she ask if she could finish. I never told her to, quote, "stop right there," end quote, or, quote, "go take your seat," end quote, or reprimand her in front of the class for sharing from the Bible. It just did not happen. The subject matter was never discussed. I decided to stop her at that point so the other students would get their share in before the bell rang. My students have always been free to share their ideas. What saddens me is that this story was twisted into lies and brought to the media. I have never sat down and discussed this directly with the family or student. I am instead being used to push an agenda for the advocates for faith and freedom. In closing, I want to express how blessed I am to work at a school that has stood behind me 100%, and I've had a tremendous amount of support from current parents and past parents who knew that the accusations were false just by hearing the story. They know that I would never behave in the manner in which I have been accused. The sensationalism of the national media has blown this story way out of proportion for no reason whatsoever except for the purpose of fear and paranoia mongering, as well as for the advocates for faith and freedom to promote their own agenda. Someone clearly either misunderstood, there was this big misunderstanding, or someone just outright lied, whether it was the parents or the advocates for faith and freedom or the news writers themselves. Someone messed up somewhere. The way I see it, all religions are free to practice their faith as they choose, so long as it does not interfere with the rights of another group. That's pretty much what our Constitution says. I think that if Christian zealot parents want their children to have a religious freedom, a freely religious education, they are free to put up the money or time to have their kids in private school or homeschool. If they don't like either of these options, there's always the Bible teaching at home, and they should be grateful to live in a country where they have these choices at their disposal and where they are allowed to worship. That's pretty much all I have to say. Bye, guys.